Bianco, who had some other obligations this evening, but still kind enough to spend a few minutes with us on the Farm Bureau guest line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team, Mississippi Farm Bureau. Coach, appreciate you joining us. I'm going to be honest, I don't even know exactly what to ask right now. I know this was a really difficult weekend for your ball club. Lose on Friday, lose on Saturday, and then just kind of a gut punch loss to your team yesterday at the very end. After you'd kind of climbed out of the hole and gotten back and taken the lead, where do you go from here with your guys?
Well, you got no other choice but to move forward, and it's hard. It's we say it all the time in sports. It replicates life. It's there's no greater metaphor. This is a learning experience that it's tough to go through. And if you're an Ole Miss fan and you were sitting in the stands on Sunday, it's tough. And so you can imagine what the players, what the coaches, what everybody that's invested in this is going through. So it's tough, but you'll survive it. Just like a lot of bad things. There's a lot worse things that can happen to you in life, and so our guys, we had light practice today because we got to get down to Jackson tomorrow. But it's tough. It's tough, but they keep moving forward and they keep showing up, and that's a good thing.
So the end of that game yesterday, I would imagine when Judd Utermark hits the dramatic home run to make it 6-4, maybe even Alderman before that when he ties the game up at 4, and then you take the lead. It's got to feel like this incredible emotional lift after the last couple of games. And then you're kind of cruising along in the ninth with 2 outs. And then all of a sudden it's like Mitch Morrell, who's been so good and hadn't allowed a hit. It was like he just kind of lost the control a little bit. From your perspective, what happened there?
Well, it's hard to get in the mind of an athlete sometimes. And, you're right. You're one pitch away, but the thing that really hurts you is the walk to Jones, the HBP, to Joe Bear to get to the pinch hitter. And so as a coach, you're happy that you got the first 2 outs and you're an out away with a 2-run lead, and so your worst enemy is base runners, right? And especially free base runners, and you want to make them hit it. And Mitch knows that. But it's that part of sometimes that's why this game's hard. That's why this game's very unforgiving, and it's why sports it's tough. Sometimes you try your best. And he wanted to make the pitch, and it's tough. When the other guy beats you in that situation.
I'm curious about player development and Judd Utermark in particular, and I'm thinking about Kemp Alderman. And I don't know, they're not the same player, obviously, but you think about year one with Kemp Alderman. When he connects, he can hit it like 4 miles. But he chased so many bad pitches and then kind of rebuilt himself as a hitter and had a huge season. He's just having an incredibly special year. Do you see any similarities with Utermark as he gets some opportunities? That there's clearly a ton of power and talent there, but he's kind of got to learn the strike zone and learn when to go after pitches and when to lay off pitches and maybe see a similar trajectory?
No, I think that's it's a great comp, and maybe another one that we talk a lot about, maybe just because of body style and similarities in their athleticism, is Elko. It's hard to compare anybody to the captain, but when you talk about the size, 6'4", 6'5", athletic, can play corner infield, can play corner outfield, big right-handed hitter like Kemp, like Elko, that can hit it from foul pole and out in just about any ballpark. He's had obviously more opportunities, but not many more than Kemp did. I think that's not a bad comp, and we'd be really happy if it turns out like that. Into his sophomore, junior year.
In terms of rebuilding your roster, not because of a specific record, but because of the guys that you've got that are in the field that are either out of eligibility or draft eligible and likely to hear their names called, there are going to be a lot of spots to fill a year from now. Where are you in the recruiting process? Because we know so much baseball is recruiting early and early signing, but the transfer portal has changed things, and you've obviously had big contributors the last couple of years that you've picked up. Will you have to be heavier this year in the transfer portal market than you've ever been?
Oh, I think so. I don't think there's a doubt of that. And part of that's hard to, to really even talk about, right now, because, the portal for us is different in the other sports where kids are going into the portal really early. Baseball, it doesn't usually happen until the end of the season because, the guys that you're going to want are the guys that are playing, right? You don't want the guys that are not playing on some other team. You're going to want the guys that are going to impact our roster next year are guys that are, stars, at some other team for whatever reason, they want to leave that school. If it's to play in the SEC, if it's, how much playing time, if they want to play another position, those types of things where, I think in the other sports, and I don't want to speak for football and basketball, but it seems like that's the case where kids go to portal very early. The best baseball players aren't doing that until the end of the season. And so, we're going to have to see how that plays out. Certainly, a really good recruiting class coming in, but what's that going to look like through the draft? So that's another obstacle that we have to deal with is once you sign them, you got to get them to show up on campus. And so we got some high profile guys that we need to make sure get to campus as well. So, but I think, your assumption is right. When you look at how many position players we're going to lose, especially, we're certainly going to have to probably dive into the portal more than we ever have.
So what about the role that NIL plays in that? I mean, nobody really goes on record with numbers, but I think it's pretty well assumed that, you look at LSU's roster and the guys that they brought in, they spent a lot of money through the NIL piece. I know you work with the Grove Collective. Are you having to be involved in, fundraising and encouraging people?
By NCAA rules, we're not allowed to. It's not our job to sell a kid on the institution as far as what the kid's going to get paid. You know that, Richard. But I think what you're asking is a fair question. And when you look at I think NIL, it really has to do with how popular your sport is to your fans, and that's where NIL is getting generated from the fans and the people, the businesses that support your program. And so when you look around the football, when you look around the baseball, when you look around the basketball, the ones that seem like they'll have the most opportunity NIL wise will be the ones that generate the most revenue as baseball programs. And so certainly when you look at our attendance and what we do as far as season tickets, there's a lot of interest here for people that like baseball. So that works in our favor.
So you think you'll have, not you specifically, but you think the Grove Collective will have the resources in place to give you the tools you need?
The Grove Collective has been terrific, and I probably want to leave it at that, Richard. You're really trying to you're really on the fringes here.
Gotcha. Well, I don't want to put you in a bad spot. This week you mentioned Tuesday night, Mississippi State Governor's Cup game. That's obviously always a big game and one that's important to fans and to your team.
No doubt, and that's we've said it here, week in and week out, several times. I know, but after a really, really tough weekend and a tough Sunday, it's what an opportunity to get back out on the field against your arch rival, play good competition against them, in front of a lot of your fans, and in an exciting atmosphere. So I know our guys are looking forward to it.
Coach, always appreciate your time.